Hello, everybody. Welcome to Devotion to Writing, and thanks for being here today and tuning into this video. Today, I wanted to talk about how we treat or mistreat inspiration. What is inspiration, and what is it to be inspired? Certainly, one way we could think about inspiration is to be filled with energy or a vision, an idea that rushes upon us. Maybe it's a story or a poem or an image that we want to paint or make. But we really don't know where this comes from, and it seems I think for a long time I felt like inspiration was kind of a random act. It didn't. I had no control of it. It just kind of happened. And in very concrete terms, we can't say what inspiration is, where it comes from. We don't know how it arrives or what causes us to be inspired. But I will say that we can generate inspiration, and in this regard, and this may be a different way of thinking about it, but inspiration is something that we can cultivate, we can invoke, and I'll get to that in a little bit. But one thing about inspiration we know is we can't buy it, we can't manufacture it in a traditional sense. It's not prepackaged. We're not going to find it at a store. We're not going to really find it outside of the world. It comes in the world. It comes from us, within us. So in that way, it's not a commodity. It's very much a mystery. And because it's a mystery, and precisely because we can't manufacture it, we, I think, tend to believe as artists that it's a random and an elusive thing. But I say that it isn't elusive, that it isn't rare, it isn't shy, and it isn't hard to find. And really, on the contrary, it is abundant. And inspiration is really willing to enter us and to work with us and to be with us anytime. But we have to choose it, and I think this is really the distinction, and it is really the thing that successful writers, artists, people who are even successful, I think, at anything, could be gardening or building a house, the idea that we must choose it, that we can choose inspiration, that we can generate inspiration. And in order to do this is partly it's being open, it's being receptive, it's being ready for the appearance of inspiration, to be a receptacle for it. But the big part of it is we have to show up for it. The writer W. Somerset Maugham wrote, "I write only when inspiration strikes. And fortunately, it strikes every morning at 9 o'clock sharp." I love this quote for what it embodies. It strikes every morning at 9 o'clock sharp. And I think there's a secret in here that many people who fail to connect with their creativity or fail to follow through on their creative projects is that they never realize this, and that successful artists embrace fully, and that is that inspiration finds us seated at the page, standing at the canvas. It finds us with our tools in hand. It finds us present, attentive, and willing. So that's one thing I wanted to dig in with this quote. And the second thing that I wanted to dig in is that, there's this idea of the 9 o'clock sharp. It is our devotion that carries us to our creative work daily and promptly. Now, we don't have to be so rigid. Some of us might kind of recoil a little bit at that rigidity. I'm not going to, my creativity doesn't function that way, and perhaps it does not for you. For me, I know personally, what has helped me is to really have a routine or a ritual, a creative routine or a creative ritual where I am at my desk at the same time every day, or that I carve out a sacred space or a time that everyone knows, my family knows, I know for myself ahead of time, I'm setting this time aside. It's 10 a.m. is my kind of when my creative brain kicks in. I just know this about myself daily, going about my routines, going to work, et cetera, the things that I do. My first ideas often come to me around 10 o'clock. In fact, it's so consistent that I could, set my watch to it. So I have kind of organized my daily life that at that time of day, I am in a position, seated, or I have my notebook or whatever, I'm ready to show up for my work and carry it forward another day. So cultivating a routine or a ritual, something, a daily doing, the daily doing becomes its own memory in our body, in our psychology. The daily doing takes up a position, a residence in our day. It's something that becomes quite sacred to us. And in fact, it becomes as routine, at least for me, it's as routine as getting up in the morning and making a cup of coffee, getting up in the morning and taking a shower, whatever it is, our kind of daily, uh, our daily performances through the day. Um, it takes up residence as one of these things. It is just a consistent, normal thing that I do. I have a space and a time carved out for it. Whereas I think those who just dream about creating or waiting for inspiration, or at best are casual about when they work, um, they don't really allot that time for themselves. Those who create and continue to create and are successful, I think, prioritize their time. And not just the time, but sitting down to work and be willing to work. And therefore, they're willing and ready for that inspiration to come. The second thing I want to point out about this quote about inspiration arriving at 9 o'clock is that inspiration can be invoked. It can be called upon. And when we invoke it, it will strike. As Mom points out, it strikes every day because of the showing up, because of the work. Those things are like a prayer. They invoke the spirit of inspiration. They call this mysterious thing to us. Now, many, many artists through the years have kind of commented on this fact, commented on the fact of this mysterious arrival of inspiration, just the mere fact of showing up and working. One of my favorite quotes to this, and perhaps it's the first place that I ever encountered it, is I encountered this idea was in Lewis Hyde's book, The Gift. If you don't know the book, I highly recommend it. It's called The Gift. There are other books called The Gift. This one is by Lewis Hyde, and it is really about creativity. And he writes that an essential portion of any artist's labor is not creation so much as invocation. So our showing up, our laboring, our devotion, our work invokes the inspiration. And what inspiration brings to us is a gift. It's the gift in the form of something quite immaterial. For us, it is an energy that enters into us. It lifts us. It fills us with the desire to get to the page, get to the canvas, whatever it is, whatever our form is. It wants to be form, and it inspires us to make form. And this really is my last point, or my first point, the point which inspired me this morning, which moved me to make this video, and that is how we treat this gift that inspiration brings. How do we treat what has entered us as a vision, as an idea, to be given form by us, and which seemingly comes from absolutely nothing? How do we treat this miraculous thing? And this is a question to ask yourself. How do you treat it? How do you treat inspiration? How do you treat what enters you? Are you casual about it? Do you care? Do you honor it? Do you praise it? Are you grateful for it? For all we know, this gift, this inspiration could be divine. It could be holy. We don't know. I choose to believe that inspiration is. And if not a divine message, then it's certainly something beautiful that has come to me or chosen me to be brought into this form, this world. And I didn't always feel that way, certainly. For way too long, I treated my inspirations as flukes. I didn't value them. I didn't think of them as sacred. I wrote on scraps of paper on the backs of envelopes, excuse me, which would get lost on my desk among books and bills and whatever, fall on the floor, go into the trash, and get lost in the pages of notebooks or whatever. I just treated them as debris, really. And I had to learn to value them. And I didn't learn that except through my devotion. That showed me that showing up for them, treating them, honoring them, professionally, honestly, to be organized about my production, to show up and to give them a place of honor, to keep them in a notebook or to keep them in a folder on my computer, and really, I think just to do them that service, that honor of believing in them, that they were something worth, and not in a precious way, but something worth the page, the paper, the room, but more than that, that they were worth something because they had come, and they had a value just in and of themselves. Because I think, one thing that I had to fight with, and I think a lot of us as creators certainly we fight with, struggle with, is the ego. And our ego will say that they are nothing. Our ego will doubt. It will fan our fears, which is really just the ego, the ego's own fears that they might not be anything. But if we believe in them from another part of ourselves, if we believe in the inspiration or believe in what came out of this inspiration, if we believe in these from that part of ourselves which was inspired, and that part which doesn't believe in the limitations that ego ascribes to things, the limitations out of fear, out of doubt that ego ascribes, if we can believe in it from that space and not judge, then we're working with that. We are united and working with the energy that created it. We are working with creation. And this energy doesn't divide things into good and bad, beautiful, ugly, right and wrong, right? That's what the ego does. It judges, it evaluates, it separates us. This is how the ego builds itself. What it's doing is building itself in isolation. And what we're doing as creators is building ourselves in unity with this energy that is coming through us. I mean, how magnificent an inspiration. If you just feel the next time you're inspired by something, just feel the energy rush, how it rushes into you, inspire. You're breathing in, right? This inspiration, it really is a lifting energy. And it's not judging. It's not sitting there thinking something is beautiful or ugly or right and wrong. It is really just receiving, abundance. And this is the unity that is us, I think, and our devotion to, whether it's writing or painting or building houses or gardening, it's from this space that inspiration reaches into. And this is the practice of our being whole. This is really what being present with creativity teaches us, or it develops in us, or allows us to become more comfortable with, is this practice of being whole, being in that unity that is us. And so I say, honor what inspires you, cultivate your practice of showing up for yourself. Ultimately, you're showing up for yourself. Show up then for the work. Be ready, be willing to receive what is coming. Devote your time and your attention to the work. Now, even if you only have 5 minutes today or tomorrow, whenever you're sitting down, 5 minutes is enough. You can be inspired in a flash. So sit down, give your attention and your time to work. The inspiration will come. It arrives promptly at 9 a.m., right? If you're seated, it will come. You have to allow it. Be willing. Invoke it. Ask for it. Pray for it. But show up. You have to be ready. And when it does come, receive it. Receive it gratefully, without judgment, and enjoy it. Just enjoy that you are the vessel for inspiration. That is a beautiful thing in and of itself. Our work is to devote our whole self to the moment of creation. That's what we're showing up for, and that's all we have to honor. In that moment, we just have to honor the creation. We don't need to worry about whether it's going to be published, who's going to read it, if it's going to be a book, blah, 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 blah. All of that is chatter. All of that is the ego. That is not why we are here in the present, to do So this is enough to show up, to devote ourselves to the moment of creation. This is enough. In fact, I think it is everything. Whatever comes after, it comes after. We don't control any of that. We control only the showing up and the getting to work. The inspiration will come. So, thank you for watching. I hope that you create deeply today. My name is Justin Aaron. I'm the founder of Devotion to Writing. If you enjoyed this video, I ask that you please share it and also give it a like, subscribe to this channel. This is how I will reach other people, other creatives who are looking for ways to cultivate a devoted creative practice or a writing practice or whatever your creative outlet. You can find more information about workshops and retreats that I offer at devotiontowriting.com. And you can also find my work, my own creative work at justinaaron.com.